There we are. Hey, everybody. I'm Lisa Stone with Parenting Aces. I am joined by Stephen Armitage and Matt Andre from Universal Tennis. Guys, thanks so much for joining. And we are going to just jump right in to talk about mostly about the new paid hits program, but also we're going to touch on the prospect camps that UTR, or I guess y'all aren't UTR anymore. Universal Tennis. I gotta catch myself on that. But I just want to mention to those of you tuning in that if you have questions for these guys, you can type them right into the comments and we will see them and address them as we're chatting. But Stephen, I'm going to go ahead and let you start and just give us a little bit of overview on what Paid Hits is and why Universal Tennis decided to launch this.
Yeah, Lisa, thanks so much for having both Matt and I today. We're excited to be on here. I think we're incredibly excited at the direction of the company. As you mentioned, we are Universal Tennis. And I think actually it starts there, which is that, when we kind of transformed a few years ago and had a new kind of executive team come in at UTR at the time, now Universal Tennis, I think the mission was to really use the rating, the best in the world, as a core unifier of tennis players. But then after that, to build out products and services that can help all tennis players and solve a lot of the many issues that I think so many of us think that are there in the sport. So Paid Hits was really kind of one of the first things on our radar. It's taken a while to kind of execute on it and get to the point where, we felt comfortable going broadly with it. But essentially the concept is, somewhat of an Uber or an eBay for tennis where players above a certain level of what we're calling an 8 UTR can market their product, which is really a hit with them, or their services, same thing, a hit with them, for an hour time or half an hour time, or more than that if you'd want, for whatever price they choose and whatever geography they choose and whatever time they choose. So this is really just giving complete flexibility to players out there who are, great hitters and maybe want a little bit, of extra money or revenue to earn without kind of being committed or locked into anything. And it's really kind of actually, hopefully, starting a new category of tennis, one that is a hit. I mean, it's not really a coaching session, it's not really a lesson, but it's for these players who are probably have a pretty good level to go out there and hit with someone who's maybe not as good of a level with them and get paid for the services. And then on the flip side, give the consumer this, placate the desire to always hit with someone better than you. So, for you as a junior parent, like, if you wanted to have your son or daughter who's maybe 13, 14, 15 years old play with someone who is in college and have an opportunity to see kind of what that difference is, or as an adult league player or recreational player, having the ability to hit with someone who, maybe is on the tour at maybe 500, 600 or 200 or even top 100. We're having players of all levels offer their services here and at a price that they want and a time and a place they want. It's just, from our end, really exciting to be the platform that is enabling this. It's something that we're fired up about.
I love it. How does a player sign up to be a paid hitter? Do you have to be invited? Is there a UTR range that allows them to be invited or sign up?
Yeah, we've gone out with a few emails to the players who are above an 8. We're only launching this in the U.S. right now. We have plans to take it internationally. I would say probably in quarter 3, quarter 4 here. But if they are above an 8 UTR, we've sent out emails to them, and there's a link and an application form. They do have to pass a background check, which is a mandatory requirement for all paid hitters, and just something there to just give the consumers confidence that this will be a safe experience. If you're above an 8 UTR, there's multiple ways to kind of go about it. One of them is in the Paid Hits link that I think that you shared. One of them is obviously in
Let me stick it back up there. Hang on.
There you go.
So there we go.
And then, we've sent out emails, and then also we've put it on social as well. So it's just under a minute application. And then after that, there's a background check process that is a little bit more time consuming, probably about 5 minutes of an application and about 3 days turnaround.
Got it. And then once they're accepted as a paid hitter, how do they go about marketing themselves?
Sure. Yeah. Well, actually, that's where we're going to do a lot of the work for you, and the fact that
That's
we're
what I
going
was
to
hoping you'd
basically.
say.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way to do it. It's going to be a really easy experience for the players. Basically, they're going to have to create an event being a paid hit with them at a certain time range, and then that's going to be visible to people within their geography. And so, what you're going to be able to see, Lisa, is you're going to say, "Hey, look, I'm able to go on my Universal Tennis app, which is launching here in probably about another week and a half to 2 weeks. It's the relaunch of it,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to be able to go on there and see all the people who are offering these paid hits around you, and be able to book them at a time and a place that works for you and works for them, and obviously at a price range that works for them. So, we're going to be in there showing their Universal Tennis rating, their actual rating, or if they are like myself or some players who have had a resume of a certain kind as a professional coach or as a former pro player. It might say that, but they might be unrated as a player currently. But you'd kind of have to do your due diligence and take a look at the person that you'd want to hit with.
Got it. And for those of you just joining us, I just want to remind you that if you have a question about UTR, I keep saying that, I've got to stop. It's ingrained, right? Universal Tennis paid hits or the prospect camps, you can type your question in the comments and we will see it and address it hopefully in our time frame here together. So we got some questions ahead of time. I sent them to you. There's a lot being discussed right now with name, image, and likeness, name, likeness, and whatever it is,
NIL.
NIL, with the NCAA and college players being able to kind of profit off of their abilities and their name. And so I know you guys were waiting to launch this to kind of figure out what was going on with the NCAA. Can you talk a little bit about NIL and paid hits and kind of the intersection of the two?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I obviously in my former my former job as director of collegiate tennis at the USTA had a pretty good sense of the college landscape and just the understanding of kind of what was going on and what was permissible and what wasn't for both players and coaches and institutions. And I think the name, image, and likeness legislate or rules that were going to be relaxed by the NCAA is going to be probably the biggest change in college sports in the history of college sports. And I think that we have been iterating or thinking about this idea for years. I think we've put it into play a little bit more with the timeline where we wanted all people to be able to do this. And so we've been working on this for the better part of 6 months to a year and just kind of really trying to time the launch at the right time where we felt like college players could take advantage of it. Basically, this kind of falls into the category of just the organic things that are going to come out of name, image, and likeness relaxation. This would fall into kind of the lessons and camps category, and it was actually a key part of the Supreme Court Alston case, where the where the question was, hey, I'm a collegiate athlete. I see someone who is a great pianist or a great violinist who's able to offer their services as a collegian, and I actually can't because I play a sport for the institution. And I think that that's wrong. And so actually the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 in favor of that being wrong. And that is just a perfect example of what this is. We are a professional service provider that basically is there to help these players market themselves, their name, image, their likeness to, gain revenue or earn revenue in the way that so many others who are kind of elite at a service are able to do in college. And us being the platform and us being kind of a guide on safety and level and the ability to connect to people is a role that we're really proud to play, and one that we feel like is just going to be the beginning of collegiate athletes being able to take advantage of their NIL via Universal Tennis.
And we just got a question in, but before I get to that, I want to just kind of follow up on what you just said, Stephen, and clarify that, if you're a current college player and you have a concern that you're going to be in violation of your school's policies, definitely talk to your coach, talk to your compliance officer, get the okay in writing get it in writing, and then move forward from there, right? I mean,
Correct. Obviously, I mean, look, your compliance officer and coach should be the first, kind of person that you ask on your questions. Actually, probably your compliance officer, because there needs to be a little bit of separation between your coaches and the players on a lot of these things that are coming out with NIL. And every state has different laws. Every institution will have different policies. So it's critical that you do the due diligence on that. This is kind of an across the board opportunity that we have for juniors, elite juniors, pros, and now college athletes. But obviously, everyone falls into a different boat of what they need to do.
And can you talk a little bit about whether this is going to impact eligibility if a high school player is participating as a paid hitter and wants to play college tennis?
Yeah, I mean, look, it shouldn't. It's something, again, to check with your institution, I think at the high school level. But this goes into working a summer camp or kind of giving a lesson or things around those lines. It is separate from the $10,000 of prize money that you're able to earn per calendar year as a junior. But it is, something that we've seen a lot of people do, and I know a lot of people have done it prior to college.
Sure. Okay. So Alec just posted a question. He says, great ideas. Question: how would this work at clubs? Typically, clubs would either want a cut or already have this service. Could this create an issue for these hitters?
Well, look, I mean, we're not here to compete with clubs. One thing that we don't take as well is we don't take a cut. 100% of the revenue goes to the players, and that's something that we really wanted to do to obviously improve the economics within the sport. I think that only 350 pros and 250 male pros and 250 female pros break even, let alone earn a livable wage within the sport. So I think that was a key component to us, is that we wanted to get
that's worldwide. Let me just say that's worldwide. That's not just in the U.S.
And that's just breaking even, and that's not kind of what it would be to rent an apartment or have a use a car or car payments or bills or whatever it would be. So. But back to Alex's question, I mean, look, we're not here to compete with clubs on this. We're not here to compete with people for lessons on this. This is supposed to be an additive opportunity that is in a separate category. I mean, if you're going to go get a lesson from someone, you should get a lesson from them and hopefully have coaching involved. This is just to have someone have an hour hit and kind of, gauge himself against a certain player, or feel the ball of someone who's a little bit better than you, or just have a fun experience without kind of the super educational or technical component that the other items have.
Are you expecting or anticipating that the paid hitters are going to offer feedback or offer any kind of instruction or technical adjustments or things like that? Or is it purely, let's go out and hit some tennis balls for an hour and have some fun out there?
Yeah, look, I mean, I have a personal connection to this one. When I was coaching some of the pros about 10 years ago in LA, we would have weeks on the road and we would have like kind of training weeks at home. And I would always want the opportunity to have a little bit of extra, work or revenue that I could earn. And the way that those went a lot of the times was just hitting with someone. I was still in decent shape at the time and hitting the ball halfway decently. They'd ask some questions about kind of what it would take to kind of improve their game, or kind of, what would it take to get to the next level. And it's kind of it turns out to be a little bit more generic, because the majority of the time is spent hitting the ball and just kind of understanding kind of, just by feel, kind of what needs to be done. I think in a coaching setting, it gets a lot more technical. It gets a lot more tactical. It gets a lot more kind of nuanced than this would be. So yeah, I'm sure that there's going to be some advice that's passed back and forth, but I definitely don't see it being at the depth that would be accustomed to having an actual coach give you that advice.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is because I want to manage expectations here, right? So the parents that are watching this, or the players that are watching this, the expectation is that you're going to pay this person to come and hit, but it's not a lesson. It's not to take the place of your time with your coach or your clinics or anything like that. It is supplementary for the junior player to have the opportunity, as Steven's saying, to kind of see where their game is in comparison to somebody who's currently in college or who's been recruited by a high-level college program, or maybe who's on the tour, just finished life on the tour. And that's always a valuable experience. Anytime you get on the court with anybody, it's a valuable experience. It's an opportunity to learn. So just making sure we manage expectations here. You're not paying somebody to give your kid a lesson. You're paying for them to come out and hit, and, you know, for your child to have that experience. And, you know, let me just ask too, Stephen, because it's just popped in my head, but, you know, one of the things that potentially could happen out there is if somebody hires one of the paid hitters and the level between the paid hitter and the junior player, for example, is so vast that, you know, the junior just can't keep up. Is there an ideal age to start hiring these paid hitters, or is it really available to anybody?
Well, Lisa, having the history with UTR that you do, you should know that we're all about level based and not about age and gender. So, but one thing I will say is that all paid hitters will have a range of players that they can choose for themselves as, their desired level to play with.
Okay.
I think it brings up a good point. You know, I mean, you know, the tighter you make that range, the less market that you're going to have. The higher you set your price, probably the less range you're gonna have of players. But look, I think that players, you know, the people who are doing these paid hits are adaptable. I think each one of them are going to go about it in a different way. You might get more advice from one, less advice from someone else. You might get kind of certain drills from one. You might want to play points against one. Those do not count for your UTR rating, by the way. But each of these are going to be kind of different. And, there's going to be demand in an area based on the feedback and quality of hits with someone. Those are going to be added into our platform at some point, where you're going to see the feedback or the rating on each of these players. And that's something that we're excited about. I think, look, this is going to be very, very, very much of a provider and consumer driven marketplace, one where we're going to be in there to facilitate demand, where we're going to be there to kind of let the hitters know what is out there and kind of the players that are looking for these hits. And then from a consumer side, I think that you hit the nail on the head. Like, this is supposed to be an additive, open opportunity that has never been there before. So whether it's the ability to hit with someone who's in college, and for you to gauge kind of like how good that player is, or whether it's for someone to play with a player who's whatever 200, 300, 400, even top 100 or top 50 on the tour, we're going to provide those experiences, because I think players of all levels have raised their hand and said, look, this is something that I really want to do.
I love it. For the parents out there that may go on to Universal Tennis and look for a paid hitter, and maybe there's not somebody in their area, is there a way for them to reach out to Universal Tennis to say, hey, can y'all please recruit some paid hitters nearby?
It's actually a great question, and I give Matt a lot of credit for this because the idea came from him. We're actually adding a button on each player who's above an 8 UTR. That basically will say request a hit. And so you may have someone who's at, you used to be in Atlanta and now you're in San Clemente, but if you might have someone who's at Georgia Tech and who you'd love to play with, or maybe you watched, her play in a dual match on the weekend, and you'll actually be able to click on her profile and request a hit. And then Universal Tennis is going to get an email and basically be able to say to them, hey, you have people out there who are wanting to hit with you. If you wanted to get on and go forward with offering your services paid hit, we have a process of doing a background check and obviously the setup that would incur with it. So we're gonna hopefully try to facilitate or just make people aware of the demand that's out there through some technological ads. And I'm pretty confident that once this gets up and running and people are seeing the value on this on both sides, that word of mouth is going to spread, and it's going to be really a great add to the ecosystem.
Yeah. Well done, Matt, for picking up on that. I think
great job, Matt.
I think that's really, you're going to start to see a lot of that, right? The parents are going to get excited about this. They're going to look for somebody, and maybe they live in an area where nobody has signed up yet. And, how awesome to be able to request that. And, to help y'all grow your ecosystem as well. So I love it. I love that y'all are considering all of the potential questions and things that are going to come up along the way. And one more thing I want to throw out there. So if you are a parent and you're hiring a paid hitter who is a current college student for your junior player, I want to just encourage your player to engage in conversation with that hitter and ask questions about their college experience. Even if it's a former college player, ask questions. This is such a great opportunity for juniors to really get some insight on the recruiting process, on what it means to be a collegiate tennis player, on all sorts of different things that prior to this paid hits program from Universal Tennis, they may not have had access to. So this isn't just about hitting the balls, but also about forming relationships with the hitters that you're hiring to hit with your kid.
Yep, absolutely. I think, as you gain experience within the sport, I think that that's invaluable. And too often, in so many different ways, the sport is so fragmented that a lot of that experience is difficult to transfer, and that knowledge is really hard to transfer. And I hope that what this can do is offer access to players in kind of a personal way that many parents and players wouldn't have had before. And then obviously, besides hitting the ball, there's knowledge transfer there that can be super valuable for their career.
Yeah, love that. So, Matt, I'm going to segue over to you because we're talking about college recruiting, and you guys have been putting on these prospect camps this summer. Can you talk about that? That's something new for Universal Tennis.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us, Lisa. And yeah, just to echo everything you guys have been saying with paid hits, it's awesome. And I think just within the college space, it's going to greatly help exposure to college programs. I think the college pages on Universal Tennis, they're getting over 300,000 page views a month. And to be able to go on there and look at players and have a request to hit button next to their name. And when that player can hit with a young junior player, you just created a fan as well. So obviously our main goal within the college division and overseeing what we do here with college tennis, it's trying to grow these programs, both could better their teams and also financially as well, which kind of leads us a little bit into our prospect camps. So these are something, I mean, they're nothing new per se. I mean, there's been camps run on college campuses for years, but what we're looking to do is offer kids new opportunities to gain exposure to college coaches and really learn about that experience, from what it feels like to be in a college practice, for what are the best tips to give from college coaches on the recruiting process to engage the parents. These camps are typically about 2 days. It's a combination of live ball drilling, coach discussion, Q&A, and then verified UTR match play. And the beauty of it is you'll be able to play on college campuses. And I think we all know that there are some of the best facilities out there in the world. And to show coaches the opportunities to actually use these to, of course, generate some revenue for assistant and volunteer coaches, kind of similar as paid hits. But it's also to engage the community and try to fill stands and get more people involved with college tennis and overall just grow that ecosystem.
I love it. I mean, I think it's a great idea. And I've told the story a million times about my son going to tennis camp at UGA and, that sparking the fire for him. And, came home that first summer at 9 years old saying, I want to play D1 college tennis at Georgia. And that's my goal. And, I think it is an incredible opportunity to turn kids on to what's available. Can you talk about, Matt, where some of these camps are being held? Are they being held only at D1 schools, or are you holding them on a variety of campuses? How's that working?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have about 6 upcoming in the next month and a half. We have University of Houston is hosting a couple, Michigan State. We have the Yale tennis coaches and the Harvard tennis coaches. They're both hosting separate camps in the Boston area. And then we have a camp in Baltimore, Maryland at Goucher College. It's actually going to have a handful of coaches going. And then we have a few more that are going to be announced soon. And it is a wide variety. I mean, you're going to see D1 schools, you're going to see NAIA schools. And one thing to really stress on that is just because it's a Division I school doesn't mean you have to be a Division I caliber tennis player to go and attend. It's so much more than that. It's about getting the education. I was at a prospect camp last year when we first really launched this before COVID hit. That was at Stanford. And just the questions the parents asked and the ability for the coaches to actually give back to the parents and say, hey, these are the things you should be looking at. I'm a big believer of finding a school that you're really going to be able to contribute at. There's so many options over there. We have over 1,800 colleges on our platform. You can be a 4 or 5 UTR and play college tennis. So I think it's so much more than just going to say, I want to go play at the school, but it's learning about the process. And it's a lot of fun as well. I mean, these coaches are really world class in terms of what they do. And to be able to be a junior player and experience that, it's a really good benefit.
Absolutely. Kara just posted, can you have some camps in the southern section, please?
We are. I got off a call. I won't say the school, but I got off a call early today with one that's going to be coming soon. And it's going to be a really great camp. And we're going to continue to roll these out. And as coaches have interest in running them, it's very simple. At the end of the day, I mean, we're the platform that really enables this. And any coach can set these camps up. They can have their own little tweaks on it and how they want to do it. But yes, Carol, we will do our best to get one in the southern section, and they should be coming soon.
How do people find the camps, and how do they sign up, and what's the cost?
Yeah, so they're gonna vary. So if you want to find the camps, and I can give you this link here, Lisa. If you go on the Universal Tennis event search and go to event series, we're gonna have a button that's UTR prospect and showcase camps. And if you go there, they're all gonna be listed there. We'll continue to add them on there. The cost is gonna vary. Typically, they range between anywhere from $150 and $500 per camp. It's just going to depend a little bit on the market, the coaches, all of that. I can definitely stress, I mean, it's definitely worth the value on what you're going to be getting from it. And the coaches really do set the prices. We're going to guide them on best practices and what we've seen worked. We've had some extremely successful camps at Oklahoma State, Baylor previously. I mean, Stanford's run some amazing camps, and we have another great list starting here. So I'll put this link in here to you, Lisa. And
okay. And I'll put it up. And just while you're doing that, Matt, just to reiterate that each campus sets its schedule. So I was going to ask you what a typical day looks like at these camps, but everyone's going to be run a little bit differently. The coaches are going to decide what they're prioritizing, but you know, at the very least, there's going to be opportunities to interact with college coaches, to play verified UTR matches, for the parents to do Q&As with the coaches, get information on the recruiting process, what it takes to play at the particular schools that are represented at the camps. And, you know, for our premium members, you guys always have the opportunity to schedule your consults with me. That is included in your premium membership as a Parenting Aces member, and I'll be happy to talk through all of the details with you, either before, after, or both attending these camps, because I do think they're a great opportunity. I think anytime that a junior player can play tennis on a college campus, in a college facility, it's a huge win. So okay, Matt, you just sent me a really long link. Okay.
Yeah, that's an event search link.
Yeah, I'm gonna copy the link. Hang on, give me a second. This is always my my bane. Here's the technology. Okay, here we go. And I'm gonna flash it up on the screen, but it is in the comments for those of you looking for it. It's really long. Sorry about that.
No, but and if you go there and you go to the event series, you just need to select prospect camps, and you'll be able to see all the camps that are coming up. But yeah, definitely. I mean, no matter your level as a junior player, I mean, we urge all players to get out there. I mean, the knowledge that these coaches are able to share, it's amazing. And we'll have camps ranging from a 4 to a 10 rating, and they'll be split up in groups where they're competitive and level based. But definitely don't veer off if you think maybe you're not that level yet. It's just such a great education opportunity for everyone.
Are they only open to high school kids, or are they open to younger than high school?
So typically they're around like a 13 to 18 range. The coach can, just like a typical camp, can recommend that age range. They are open, so we can stay with compliance rules, of course, at all times, and they always check with their teams. But they are open, and they are designated for juniors.
Perfect. Okay. Well, guys, thank you all so much. Is there anything that I've forgotten to ask you that we need to touch on before we close up shop here?
I don't think so from my end. I just wanted to, you know, on behalf of both Matt and I, and, you know, Universal Tennis in general, thanks so much for having us today, and, you know, letting your users and listeners kind of know about these cool new products. We're going to be coming out with a lot more, and we're excited about our app launch app relaunch that's happening here in a few weeks. And so, stay tuned. Just stay tuned. This is just the beginning of kind of the products and services that are going to continue to come out that hopefully are going to make your tennis life more enjoyable and transform the sport. That's our goal.
Yeah, I love that. Matt, any last words?
No, I think that's spot on. I appreciate, Lisa, and everything you're doing for tennis and junior tennis. And Stephen and I both have coaching backgrounds. I think it's so awesome to be able to kind of spread education on what's important for tennis players of all shapes and sizes. So thanks for having me on, and we look forward to coming back on here again soon with some new initiatives.
Absolutely. Yeah, y'all are invited anytime. And I just want to say thank you to Universal Tennis for really stepping up this last year and a half. I mean, I've been promoting you guys since you started, but as we've seen during the pandemic, there's really been a hole in the especially junior tennis market, and Universal Tennis has done an incredible job of pivoting and figuring out how to provide opportunities for competitive play for juniors throughout this last crazy year and a half that we've all experienced. And so kudos to you guys for doing that, and keep up the great work, and we're here for you anytime you want to come on and talk about all the great stuff you're doing.
Thanks so much, Lisa.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks. And to those of you tuning in, hope you enjoyed it. If you have questions, post them in the comments. I will pass them along to Stephen and Matt, and we'll make sure we get them answered for you. Take care, everybody. See y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.